the MoTown phenom, Kevin Lee, who recently announced his signing with Eagle FC and is set to make his debut next year. Kevin, great to sit down and talk. How are things with you today?
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure on this side of the pond. It's kind of nice, you know. I'm still in Las Vegas in the desert, but it's kind of nice.
Fantastic. Let's jump straight into it. Signing with Eagle FC came as a little bit of a surprise, I think, to the MMA community. Was it did it feel as much of a surprise to you, or was it something that had been on the cards for a while?
At first it felt like a surprise, you know. After the surprise release from the UFC, and then I got this offer, it felt like a surprise, but after it kind of set in and I spoke with more people and I got more used to it, it seemed like somewhere that I'm supposed to be, you know. It seemed like the best move for my career. So it was a surprise, but in a good way, you know.
I want to ask about first and foremost about the weight class, because it's being announced that the 165 will it be introduced. How much of a factor was that in this move?
I say it was one of the biggest factors. It probably was number one, just because the sport is over everything. You know, it's over the organizations, it's over the negotiations, it's over the money. It's what I'm actually going out there to compete to do. And I've always felt like I've been between 155 and 170. I felt like years ago they should have started up a 165 division. So it seems like this is inevitable for it to come. So I'm like, okay, we finally doing it. And that was a big factor in me going over there.
Can I ask an honest question? Obviously you've dabbled between 155 and 170. When you were, how compromised were you up from the weight cut in 155, and how weaker did you feel when fighting the welterweights up at 170?
I never felt necessarily weak at 170. My last fight was at 170, but I was coming off the knee surgeries.
Yeah.
So I did feel like my legs still had a lot of room to grow, and they still I wasn't at my full strength, and I could tell that right off the bat. But I think that more so did with the surgeries, not necessarily the weight class. And at 155, it was hit or miss. Some weight cuts went smoother than others. The ones that went really bad, like the ones with Charles Oliveira or the one for Tony Ferguson, those weight cuts, they severely compromised me. I was already weakened going into the fight.
Has it been announced what this 165 weight class will be called? Is it going to be super lightweight, middleweight? Have you heard anything about that?
You know, I think we go on with super lightweight. I'm kind of the pioneer of this, so I kind of made up the name. I like super lightweight. I like that better than light welterweight. So I'm gonna go Super Saiyan on somebody, and I kind of like that idea.
People often quote you, Kevin, as saying that you felt you saw holes in Khabib's game, which at one point you may have felt like you did. But what have the meetings been like with Khabib and his team, and what have them interactions been like?
They're solid. There ain't no holes in it. There ain't no holes in the meetings. You know, it's solid. They're very open. You know, they're more flexible. With the UFC, it's either cut or dry. You know, you're either gonna do this or we're gonna find somebody else to do it, and you're kind of like a peg in the machine. But with them, I think because Khabib has fought for such a long time at such a high level, he knows what these negotiations with promoters are like. So he just has a lot more leeway, you know, when we're negotiating. There's pushback on both sides. So that's been one of the biggest upsides to this whole process, has been like working along with him. Our conversation has been smooth. You know, there's that little bit of competitorness, you know. And I think honestly that's gonna bleed into the fights. It's one of the reasons why I wanted to sign with this too. I'm gonna be out there. I'm gonna show off in front of him a little bit. You know, I got to pick somebody up and throw him over my head for him a little bit. He's gonna be sitting right there ringside, so it gives me a little more added motivation during the fights.
I guess another perhaps surprise at the signing was the fact of the uncertainty around who you would be fighting and what the level of opposition would be at Eagle FC. Was that another aspect? And have you been reassured from the Eagle FC brass that the talent is going to be signed along with yourself?
Yeah, they're going to make some big signings. Guys that the UFC are letting go, but are still on the upswing. Guys that are coming up. that want their shot in a bigger organization, like this is going to be the one. So I feel like I'll fight hungrier guys other than somebody who's just kind of happy just to be one of the fold.
When you mentioned there the very surprise UFC release, which I think the MMA world was very surprised at, to be honest. When you were informed of that, was there an initial inkling as to what promotion you preferred, or was it just let's see what happens business wise?
There was an initial like, oh, should I go to PFL? You know, it's a quick $1 million. You know, the competition in PFL isn't to that level. It's a quick $1 million. I've seen these tournaments. Like it would be nothing. There, and then, you know, there was a couple other places that I was bouncing around between. You know, a couple of other people made offers that made sense. But this one just stood out on too many factors. You know, the weight, the money, the opponents, the ideas that they got for the future of the sport, and the fact that Khabib is behind it too. It's just they had too many things stacked in their favor that I had to go with this promotion.
You mentioned there's been some rumors of the potential Diego Sanchez fight in your debut. Is that a fight that intrigues, that interests you, or is that a fight to get the ball rolling for the remaining 3 fights on the contract?
No, it intrigues me. It seems like something like poetic about it. You know, the first Ultimate Fighter, super tough dude, somebody that I respect, that I've been watching since I was a little kid. It's just something about it that intrigues me about that fight. So I can't seem to get over it until they tell me a no. You know, he's already accepted the fight. He's already said yes. So right now I'm just waiting on a contract to slide by and make my way down to Miami.
I think I heard the rumor of the 13th of March. Is that a timeline with you and your kind of schedule for camp?
It's March 11th.
March 11th. My mistake.
Yep. So yep. That seems like the date. Main event, March 11th. I'll be in attendance for the first fight that they have with Tyrone Spong and Rashad Evans on the card. So then we'll set up for March.
Fantastic. Let's talk about the UFC release, and I want to be very careful with my words, and I want to be very respectful. You mentioned on a previous interview, I think it was with Ariel Helwani, about the shock of how you received the news. But obviously we've heard so many stories about the way in which UFC fighters have been treated once they've left the promotion, or the way they've been treated by the company. I guess a couple of weeks removed from that, or a couple of months removed from that, have them initial surprises changed in your mind? Is a little bit more of an understanding that that's how the UFC operates?
It is, but it still doesn't sit right with me. You know, I've got over it just for myself. You know, I don't. It's no sense in holding a grudge or thinking these things about somebody else, but it still doesn't sit right with me. You know, even to this day, it's been about 3 weeks and still no phone call from one of the execs. But you know, when they needed me, they always came to me. You know, and told me how much. And so I know they have the ability to reach out. You know, they've higher up execs. I'm talking about Ari Emanuel and these people have come to me and said, I really need you to win this fight. But then after, it's like, okay, once that's said and done, it's you're a forgotten name, which shouldn't be what martial arts is about. You know, if this is the biggest martial arts promoter in the world, they should promote all aspects of martial arts, not even just the fights. You know, it's you know, have some respect for people. And it's not even just me. It's like you said, everybody even before me that would get cut. We all got these same stories. It's a ongoing, continuing thing. So I hope one day that we're able to break out of needing these big organizations to kind of push us into the mainstream. I think MMA is going down the route of boxing, to where MMA will be known as MMA, not just as the UFC. Yeah. And I think that's coming up pretty soon.
I remember having a conversation with John Fitch about that, and he said, imagine all the governing bodies are the UFC belts. He said, imagine the WBA is the UFC, but then imagine the WBC is, say, Bellator, IBF is Eagle FC. In boxing, all the belts are of equal standing. the four major belts. No one has any different. Winning WA is no different than winning WBC, and that's what we need in MMA. Where winning a world title is winning a world title, not as it's seen as perhaps a secondary title, if you like.
Right. That's what this is going to be about. This is the first time that we're doing a 165-pound title. There's no 165-pound division in the UFC. So I'm literally saying anybody in the world that wants to weigh in at 165 pounds and wants to fight, I'm a world champion. So that's the type of stuff that's going to go down in history books, not just UFC history books, not just UFC Hall of Fame, which don't really mean that much. It's going to go down in MMA and fighting, and I think it'll live for a long time.
You mentioned there as well the 165. There may be other smaller organizations who've done it before, but I don't think there is. You could potentially be the first world champion of your own weight class. It'll be Kevin Lee weight.
Yeah, strange, huh? I made up the name and everything. It's gonna be it's awesome.
I don't think it's got to be super lightweight. I think it's got to be Kevin Lee weight.
We can call it that. We can call it MoTown weight. I'm with that too. It sounds awesome.
I did want to mention as well, you're obviously it's been confirmed you'll be paid in Bitcoin. Are you a trader? Is that something that you've dabbled in before, or is this a first?
No, it is something I've kind of been dabbled in a long time, since 2017. It saved my ass during the pandemic, and not being able to fight when I was sitting out with the surgeries. It saved my ass. I put that money in there, and it grew over that time. So it's something that, it's like one of those practice what you preach. Right now Bitcoin is at a low, I think, because not as many people are using it. And these things are only as valuable as we say they are. So if we're using it, if we're using it to buy things, if we're using it to trade amongst each other, then I think that value will grow. So I'll take the first step and go ahead and just throw my money in there. I'm going to do it anyway. I'll just cut past the banks, and that way I can send to a lot more people. Damn, did it cut off?
Yeah, not a problem.
All right.
One thing I wanted to mention as well is 4-fight contract, which is quite a large contract to move into a new organization. Let's presume you have 2 fights in 2022 and 2 fights in 2023. What is in your opinion, where is the goal for Eagle 2 FC to be by the time you finish your contract with them?
It'll be to start my own promotion or co-promote with someone else. I think, like I said, I think that's where we're going towards. It's starting to be a new day. We starting to see a new age of the internet. We're starting to see a lot more power given to the individual and the individual people. So I will want to, after this contract, start my own or co-promote with someone else, and luckily I have room in this contract in order to do that. So even if we did want to eventually fight a UFC champion like Charles, that we could make a co-promotion at some point or something like that.
It feels a little bit like, correct me if I'm wrong, but it feels like the game's changed for Kevin Lee a little bit. You seem to be looking at these very inventive ideas as opposed to the standard, I want to win the UFC belt. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, and honestly, it's something that came up even before this release. So I kind of had felt like I was getting stuck and getting, kind of on the rat race almost. So I kind of got to push off of it, and now it is about branching outside of that and thinking outside the box and doing these things that I've always thought about doing, but now I actually have the freedom to do. And I think that can show a lot more to other people and other fighters in the games. We don't have to just sit and do what we told all the time. I'm not really somebody who likes being told what to do anyway. So I like to get a little more creative out there.
I did want to say that as well, because throughout I think I had a look earlier, throughout your UFC run, I think there was 5 main events in your last 7 fights. You've really been a main event, someone who the UFC have relied on. And then now going to this organization, as you mentioned, you'll be the main event in March. That's only going to strengthen your brand for the rest of your career and your career to come. Yeah.
I mean, I still got a very long career ahead of me. I'm only 29. Most of these champs right now are 33, 34. They usually start their prime in their 30s. So I'm going to be starting my prime in a different organization. I've already built up a D-list celebrity that the UFC offers you. And then now it's about building up me as a brand and as a person, and as a real fighter. And, I think I've already got the respect of the people, but now once I put together a little 3-4 fight highlight streak, it's really going to take it to another level.
Do you think, as a result of Eagle FC, we see more 165 divisions being introduced? I know there's been rumours in Invicta, there's been rumours in Bellator. Do you think that is something that could evolve and could happen across MMA?
It's funny. I went on my Facebook, right? Which I never go on Facebook. Who the fuck uses Facebook? But I went on my Facebook maybe like a week ago, and this was after the press conference of us announcing the new division. And I still follow some of the old promotions that I used to use when I came up, the really regional scenes in Michigan. Yeah. And on the top of the billing on 3 different cards was a 165-pound division. And so I don't know if I don't know. Other promotions are already seeming to do it. If you're doing it at the lowest level, then eventually you're going to do it at the highest level. So I think it's something that it's bound to happen, and it was meant to come. So it's on its way. 165 and 175 for these for the other guys.
Yeah, Kevin Lee weight.
Yeah, Kevin Lee weight, and then we can call 175 Fat Kevin Lee weight. We call it Fat Kevin weight. That's
champ Kevin Lee weight.
Fat.
I wanted to mention there as well, Kevin, because I've always loved your nickname, the MoTown Phenom. It's always been something prior to speaking to fighters. I've always loved the MoTown Phenom as a nickname. Are you big into MoTown? And if so, what are your favorite artists from the MoTown genre? So as I mentioned, Kevin, the MoTown Phenom Lee. Kevin, are you big into MoTown? And if so, give me some of your favorite artists of the genre.
I am. I'm big into music in general. I just grew up on MoTown. My parents and stuff is always through the house. But I'm big on music. So you said give you some of my favorites. I mean, how can you not love Michael Jackson? That's come on, we got to go with that. OJ's is another one for sure. I got to give you a good one. Maybe I want to say Temptations, even though like all 3 of those is all part of bands, and I'm not really like a band type of, you know what I mean? Yeah, those three for sure.
I've always wondered, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I've always wondered if your nickname has been associated with Thomas Hearns as the Motor City Cobra. Are they linked at all or not?
No, they're not. But I've heard that before too. A couple people that have said that to me, and said that I'm the new Tommy Hearns. So if hey, that's just straight flattery to me. It's Tommy Hearns that we talking about here. That's not nothing small. So people from my city have told me that. So I wear that name proudly for sure.
Well, I'll leave you with one final serious question, and all I want to ask is, we're at the end of 2021. Where do you want to be come the end of 2022? What's the plan for Kevin Lee in 12 months?
It took me 3 years to make $1 million with the UFC. These last 3 years, and I'll make $1 million within a year of Eagle FC. So the people gonna have to respect the money. They didn't. They may have respected me fighting before, but the people really gonna have to respect the money. So that's where I want to be next year.
So the people have always respected you, Kevin, but is that the emphasis on the monetary gain throughout 2022, perhaps?
Yeah, I'm a prize fighter, and it's time we start being that. It's time to start leveling up a little bit and level up the level of celebrity and championships and everything.
Okay, well, that's fantastic to hear, and I very much look forward to it. However, I've got one final request before you end, Kevin.
All right.
So, as you mentioned off camera, there was a possibility you might give me your best Scouse accent, the city where I'm from, Liverpool. So imagine Darren Till, imagine Paddy the Baddy, and I want you to say the phrase, "Can I have some chicken and chips?"
I was down at Bellagio with Don Till, and he was playing poker, and he didn't say this, but I could see it in his heart. I could feel it on him that he wanted to ask for some chicken and chips from. Yeah, close enough.
That'll do. That's good. That's good. You've asked me to do it. You've asked me to do a Detroit accent. I'll do a worse job.
I will not. I don't want to get you shot. So we gonna leave there.
We'll leave it there. Like
Darren Taylor, you know, if he got some problem with that, me and him can have that out. You know.
No, it's the problem he'd have with me for asking the request.
Oh, good.
Well, I very much thank you for your time today, and I very much look forward to seeing what the future holds in 2022 and this very bold move to Eagle FC. I can't wait to see it. One love.
March 11th, main event. Well, opponent still to be determined. So I'll be making my way down to Miami here pretty soon.
Fantastic. Before we finish, Kevin, how can people find you on social media and anything you want to shout out? Sponsors, the floor is yours.
At MoTown Phenom. You know, I'm gonna start to revitalize it a little bit, kind of change up the look, change up everything. So, you know, be prepared for big stuff in the near future. And shout out to Boohoo Man. You know, still gonna give him love.